Before I let you go, I want to share on this lovely love day something about those of us who love ourselves first easily. And I'm going to have to say, I'm a woman, because I know men like to say, you're a woman, you don't know anything about men. And I'm going to begin with some of us, those of us who tap into easily having healthy self-worth. We will notice something about gender stereotypes, which is they're not true. And I've told my men friends, they're all apparently okay with gender stereotypes. And so when I see online gender stereotypes, I usually ignore it. But on this day, I'm going to share for my 5D collective something that I know they will appreciate, because anybody who loves their self first, man, woman, or they, will know exactly where I'm coming from. That's because of something specific. When you do know how to love yourself first easily, you have, as I was sharing in our other video, bilateral integration. So I also use words sometimes. Does not mean that your right mode is ever offline. I forget what word I use, but you're always online, obviously. But not having access is something that I'm not going to explain right now. But there's a reason, and it's not because your right mode's offline. Okay, so the right mode of our human being brain. Let me spell out to you. I had found it. Here we go. The 7 dominant or 7 areas that the right mode dominates, not the left mode. So the left is linguistic. The right is non-verbal, non-linguistic, no language. Sensations come up. Okay, and that's where though we are going to look at, so eye contact, right mode, dominant, facial expressions, tone of voice, posture, gestures, timing, and intensity. These 7 nonverbal signals, thank you, Daniel Siegel, are right mode dominant, and they're sent and received by the right mode. And so when we have couples who need bilateral integration in order to achieve deeper connection with each other, it's because there's impaired bilateral integration. And the impairment means that one of the two partners, or both, we don't know, it's not gender specific, when they're not picking up on their nonverbal signals of each other, like the sad face, that's where the gender stereotypes, I read an article just the other day that mentions men don't pick up on facial expressions. I'm like, oh, that's unresolved trauma. You don't have access to your right mode. You should have complete access to your right mode if you're a healthy self-worth person with those secure attachments. So you know how to love yourself first. And this is what people who don't learn about attachment and trauma-informed and how our brain and mind is made, or they don't believe in it. No, they really just don't look into it. So we see all these lovely, lovely individuals who talk about relationships. And I was seeing this lovely human being talk about how the woman is the one who is going to have to initiate romance. And I'm thinking, that's funny, because yeah, that's not going to happen. If you can't pick up on my emotional cues, I ain't going to be seeing you as a high valued man because you are successfully running after what will be money and career. I'm going to be so far away from you, or if you have a facade of some other sort. Okay, so when I see men sharing their gender stereotypes, I'm used to it. And when I see women too. And this is where I saw one woman, and every time I see this woman, I'm like, wow, any more followers that want to look like you? Because of the way that they pose these equations. So obviously these are lovely, lovely human beings who are guiding the gender stereotype community. I'm not going to guide gender stereotype community. Here's where, as a human being, but again, I will spell it out. I'm a woman, as I've been told, out of respect for the men, that all I'm going to say is the reason I choose silence with this is because when I was a teenager, I did become, for a short time, a feminist. And then I was like, well, I'm not really a feminist. I'm a humanist. So again, when you easily love yourself first, you're not paying attention to all of those equations that the women that I know, the ones who are like, we don't have fair rights. I'm like, well, we can work on it. You don't need to get all pissy in our pants. So on that note, if you care about expanding humanity in general, you're not going to focus on one gender or another gender, and you're not going to get all up in your Cusco attitude, because the Cusco attitude is the actual person who's not learning to use their left and right mode. And on that note, we also have the ability to change what? societal culture. So right now what we have are the ancient silverback people, men and women and days. And that's our 3D, 4D collective. So for my lovely 5D collective, those of you who are mystics or enlightenment soul age group, or purely a person who has the common sense to hear the words that come out of the mouth of a person who's attachment and trauma informed. I'm not spelling out any truths. I'm spelling out a mechanism. And one that actually is, I'm going to say, I was thinking of secure attachment and people who have a differentiated self like myself. So we easily, unconditionally love you. Any person with your flaws and imperfections, because I loved myself first. When I was told you're ugly, whatever it is, I mean, I'm 44. You have to imagine how many times I've heard something about you're too much. I've seen people basically crumble in front of a screen because one human being comments to them that they're too much. This was a woman who's also a coach. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm compassionate, but I'm like, wow. So you still actually have not accepted that some people are going to come at you and say that you're too much. And I have other friends that are women that have come to me with the same equation. I'm like, didn't you understand that some are going to just look at you and be like, you're an evil person, you're not desirable or whatever. I I didn't. Yeah, the first time anybody told me you're what was it? I don't even remember. I just learned as a teenager, people don't like confidence. But wait a minute, they're teenagers, they're immature, they're insecure. I know I'm growing my confidence, so I'm not going to back off from being confident because you're scared of me standing my ground. Seriously, is this how we're going to do it? So as a person, again, and as a woman who grew and was told how many of these entire, disservices, that I am still seeing it. Of course I am, but I find it humorous when I see women or men who want to share with me and with communities that they're doing something different. When if you're in the same, I'm going to divide us, you're not doing anything different. Okay, so what's different is saying we can accept that we have situations that are taking place. We can have conversations, and if we talk, though, we're not arguing about it. Okay, so when I meet people, men, women, days, I have not yet met days personally, but when I meet a whole secure attachment person, they, like I, know that it is in our responsibility to say healthy self-worth means that you and I can completely disagree, like completely, and not insult each other. Like actively not want to insult each other, actively not want to use some gender stereotype to, it's not even about excusing behavior. So when I see these roles and these gender roles, it doesn't go back to our origins. It's literally a closed mindset to say that a woman is going to initiate or nurture something and a man needs to go after the job. It's the breadwinner. And I mean, what year is it? And when I see women who basically say, don't think about wedding bells and know that men just want one thing from you. Okay, seriously, you're just speaking the same words that I heard when I was a kid growing up, and that I said, no. If I meet a human being who wants to say to me they're a man or a woman, they're not going to do any of that. Because you know what a gender stereotype is? It's a limited consciousness person. It means you don't know how to think outside the box. It also means, though, most likely you have unresolved insecurities as my teenager male friends as I grew up, and then lo and behold. So if there's bilateral impairment, as thank you Daniel Siegel, you can be a man, a woman, a couple, you can be anything you want. You're not going to actually get to have deeper connection. And so it's not the outside, it's actually when I look in your eyes. And when you look in mine, I'm going to know as a pacha, because I know how I feel inside and I'm okay with it. I'm going to know if you basically just dismiss something because you're not going to flinch. And that's because your left mode is on and your right mode is on, but you don't have access to it because you don't have access to your own inner body, which means you don't have access to your whole 3-year-old heart, which means you don't have access to your divine feminine or your divine masculine. You only have access to the left mode, which breaks things down, wants to be right and wrong, and that's Cusco. So you're not a pacha. So you don't even know what nurturing, romance, all the words that all these people with gender stereotypes, what I find humorous is that they actually don't understand we can all be a whole masculine and feminine. In fact, 5D mystics, that's the whole point. That's how you get to move into your wholeness. And it's also just, again, functional adults. It's being a loving person, yourself, others. We don't work for it, we just share, but it's really comfortable and it's really beautiful. So romance is all about conscious lovers, And some of us, you know, we get here, tune in for more.